Now we have audio. I fixed it. Anyway, let's do this all over again. So this is Geared Up. This is our weekly live broadcast where we talk about lighting techniques, gear, different things that we can teach you about lighting, and hopefully ask some questions and learn some cool stuff. Like I was just saying, we just launched 2 new light shaping tools for our lineup. They are called the Soft Zoom Reflector, and they come in 2 sizes. We have the 180, which works out to us feet people and to about 6 feet. And then we have a 140, which works out to about 4.5 feet. So they're really, really nice size modifiers. The 6-footer, you definitely need a little bit more space to open it up. It's pretty big, as you can see here over my shoulder. But what's really, really cool about it is that you have one light shaping tool now that can give you a lot of different looks. That's because it bases the way that it controls the light off of this zoom rod that's dead center of the modifier. So you can actually take the zoom rod, you can push it all the way out. That's going to give you a nice soft quality of light. You can take the zoom rod, you can pull it all the way back in, and then that'll actually give you a hard quality of light. So to be able to go from a big light source that's going to give you a ton of coverage to something really, really crispy and really, really pointed with one modifier is really, really cool. This the 180 does a beautiful job when the zoom rod's pushed all the way out of giving you a ton of coverage, and you're going to see that here in a few minutes when we photograph with Alfred. But it's a really, really beautiful light. The other really cool thing about this is we designed it with all of our flash heads in mind. So if you have a Pro Pack, 7, 8, 10, 11, and a Pro head, you can use that in this, and it does a beautiful job. But you also have the ability to use your B series, your D series, your flat front heads, and it's going to take and gobble up all the exact same light, and it's going to broadcast it out in the same way. So it was designed to handle all of our light sources. It's really meant for our 100 millimeter stuff. I'm saying all the flashes. We obviously have the A10 and the A2, which are a little bit smaller. It's the actual ring for it itself is the 100 millimeter. So again, you're going to want to use this with like your B series, your D series, and your Pro heads, and acute heads. If you still have an acute pack, this thing will work great for it. Again, this is the 180 size, so it's about 6 feet. You can mount the flash one of 2 ways. So what we've been talking about already is this indirect mode where we're firing the light into the reflector itself, and it's broadcasting the light back forward. You can also take the light and put this onto the light stand itself, and then put the soft zoom onto the front of it like a traditional softbox. So if you'd rather use it in that mode, you can. We offer a diffusion kit that you can purchase with it if you prefer to use it in that manner. And that will allow you to have a nice, really big softbox. The cool thing about using this as a softbox as opposed to a traditional one is it has double the ribs. So you actually get a much more round shape. It's not a ton more flattering to the eye, but it is going to give you a more natural round shape that you're used to seeing outside on location. And then you also have the option of throwing on a grid kit. I'll pull all those things out here in a minute and we'll look at all that stuff, but I'm just letting you know ahead of time that you have the diffusion kit and the grid kit that you can buy separately if you'd like. Let's see. There's a lot to talk about with these things, so I want to make sure that I go through everything. What I wanted to do, so I have the 180 set up here. I wanted to, before we shot, I wanted to show you how you set up one of these modifiers, and I was going to do that with the 140, and we're going to do that right here on this light stand. So cool thing is the reflector, I keep calling it a 140 and it's a 120. I'm a dum-dum. So it works out about 4 feet, not 4.5 feet. So they all come in this nice bag. So really, really easy to travel with. I've actually already flown with both of these units. They ship really, really well inside this bag. I haven't had any issues with it on airplanes. It's easy to keep your grids inside of it. It's easy to keep your diffuser inside of it. And then the actual reflector straps into the bag so it's nice and safe. And then on the inside is the actual zoom rod. So you kind of put all this stuff together separately. So let's take the zoom rod out of the bag. For the sake of speed, I'm just going to throw stuff on the floor, but you know, it's neither here nor there. So what you do is you take the light cage off first, and we're going to mount this to the stand. So if you have a traditional stand with a, let's loosen this up so you can see what we're talking about. If you have a traditional light stand with like a stud right here, you have the ability to mount that here to that. If you have a light stand with a little socket, like a junior pin, then you can actually take this unit off right here. This is the way that I prefer to do it, just because it feels a little more sturdy to me, but I'm a little bit of a maniac. So take that in here, and then we can lock it into place. And now you have your zoom rod set up on your light stand. Cool. And then from here, you just take the soft zoom, you throw it onto the front of the holder right here, lock it into place, and now you're almost already there. So the back of the, I don't know if I'm going to roll this forward, maybe they can see it. So the back of the reflector has like dots where you should start. So it's got a single dot here and a single dot here, and then double dots on the 45 degrees out from that. And that's where you want to start. So you grab onto the zoom rod and just snap it into place. Comes together really simply. And then once you have those four in, you just pull everything up. Again, this thing is incredibly simple to set up and break down. And then once you think you have all the rods locked into place, what you can do is you can run your finger around it. And if there's anything loose, you know that rods needs to be, so like if I was running my finger around, I could see that one's still a little bit loose. Pop it into place, and now it's that simple to build the soft zoom. So this is the 120. Then you just take the cage, pop it inside, and you're ready to rock and roll. Throw your light in there. It could be, like I said, a B10. You could throw in a D2. You could throw in a Pro head, and you're ready to rock. When you're setting this thing up, especially if you're using like a D2 or a Pro head, just make sure that you, I didn't line this up the right way. So you can unlock this and rotate it. And now the little opening here at the bottom, there's a opening here for you to run your power cords through. So again, for your Pro heads, your D2s and stuff like that, you can keep them running through as opposed to draping out on the outside. So comparison size wise, sorry, I thought I almost hit Alfred in the face with the zoom rod. So size wise, you can kind of see what you're getting with the 120 and the 180. But they're both great reflectors. The 180 is obviously going to give you a little bit more coverage, especially when you're zoomed all the way out in something a little bit softer. The 120 is going to point out just a little bit more just because size-wise, but they're absolutely beautiful. So I've also seen someone talk about, these are really, really cool deep octas. So let's get real serious about light for a second. When you put a diffusion panel onto the front of a light shaping tool, a softbox, it doesn't matter anymore how deep the actual unit is itself, because the light source is now the diffusion panel. So if you're planning on using this as a deep octa, don't expect it to look any different than a regular octabox, because a deep octa and a regular octabox, they look the exact same. The real magic in this thing is using it in this configuration indirectly, where you're shooting the light in there and you're using different amounts of the modifier itself. So really, really cool stuff. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to shoot with both of these. I'm going to use the 180 really fast so you can see what that light's going to look like coverage. We're going to zoom all the way out. We're going to zoom all the way back in. And then we're going to take the 120. We're going to do the same thing, but we'll do it with like a B10 and show you that its light quality is quite nice as well. So let's get this rolled up out of the way for a second. I would also highly suggest a quality light stand and some quality counterweight. These things are, they are forward heavy. So you want to make sure that you're, again, counterweighting it quite nicely to keep it from toppling over. They're pretty sturdy. You can actually damage the rods that go down the edges here. Other cool thing is in the bag, you have 6 replacement rods. So if something were to happen, you get 6, and they're quite easy to take out and repair. So you can repair the unit yourself But again, use some counterweight. Like I said, I have something on the hook here on the zoom rod. I also have a Pro 11 counterweighting, and I have another weight on the foot. They're not terribly heavy, but they are forward heavy, or top heavy. So cool. Let's get this thing pointed at Alfred. Rad kid. Got a lot of drip, a lot of swag. Way cooler than I ever was when I was a kid. Sweet. Let's just have you right here, my man. And let's get this rock and rolling. So right now we are zoomed all the way out on the zoom rod. So the quality of light of this is going to be pretty soft. Let's get you guys a shot of the computer screen.
We have a few questions too.
Perfect. You wanna ask while I'm getting this set up?
Yeah, definitely. So it says, how does it hold the weight of a D2 full extension?
The zoom rod is really sturdy. Susan and I, so Susan's who's asking me the questions right now, Susan and I yesterday put all the lights on the zoom rod, including a D2 Industrial, which I feel like the D2 Industrial is a little bit heavier than a normal D2. It barely flexed. It's a really sturdy zoom rod. So, yeah, sorry, Susan's far away. The question was, how does the zoom rod hold up to something with the weight of like a D2? And that's what I just answered. So.
Oh, and then what's the difference compared to a Deep Umbrella XL?
So the difference between a Deep Umbrella XL is just going to be the light spread. So someone was asking, what's the difference between using something like this and a Deep Umbrella XL? First and foremost is going to be size. The Deep Umbrellas don't get this big. I guess it gets relatively close, but not this big. But the difference is you have a more, a shape that's going to scoop the light up in different ways than the umbrella can do. So you can take this and sculpt it. You have a lot more control than you would have with an umbrella. And then again, you also have the ability to throw on some other modifiers here to control the light more than you would with an umbrella. That sound about right, Anders, or did I miss anything? Slightly longer depth of light.
Have time for two more?
Yeah, we have time for two more.
Cool. Can you use the A series with the OCS adapter?
So I was going to play around with this today, and I didn't. Have we tested that?
No.
So we haven't tested it. I can't imagine that you're going to get the light spread that you need to cover this thing. It's big. It's really big. That being said, I can always test it for you some other time. I don't have one on me right now, but be interesting. It'd be funny to try. But it's definitely made for something that has a little bit more light spread, like your B series, D series, and your Pro series.
It's going to be like having a Prius pulling a Caterpillar.
A Prius pulling a Caterpillar. Nice.
And your man, Zach Sutton,
Oh.
asked, is there a big benefit to the parabolics to give the fully parallel light source? If true, wouldn't a grid not be effective?
So let's go ahead and say this right ahead of time, because I didn't actually think to say this. These aren't truly parabolic. They're not meant to be. So with a parabolic, you have to pay attention to the way the light is controlled. These are meant to be easier to use than that. So the light spread on these is a lot more consistent. It's a lot easier to replicate than it is to replicate with a truly parabolic reflector. So yeah, these are not meant to be parabolics. Even though they look like a parabolic reflector, they are not. And we are not saying that they are whatsoever. Again, we did that because we wanted a light modifier that was more appealing to the masses. Something, again, that's really, really easy to control. Yeah, it's ease of use all over the board. That's not to say that some other time in the world we may come up with a true parabolic, but these weren't meant to be that. So cool. Hopefully that helped you out, Zach. Love you, my man. Cool. So let's have you square it up real fast. So I did back the light up quite a bit. Let's get pushed in a little bit more. So I have the actual light itself about 10 feet, maybe 8 to 10 feet from Alfred. And he is about 3 to 4 feet from the background. So that way, you know what you're looking at whenever this pops up. Let's get this screen up there. Perfect. So here we go. So I'm going to shoot pretty wide so you can see what the coverage looks like. Let's just get my focus point where I need it. Here we go. Chin down a little bit, Alfred. 3, 2, 1. Cool. So again, pretty soft. It's a really nice quality of light. You can see there's really good coverage top to bottom. That 180 does a dynamite job of covering your subject. So now we're going to zoom it in. So the light source is a lot harder. And I'm also going to have to pull the power down about a stop. It really gets very efficient. So just unhook this here. Pull this all the way back. There we go. And so now we're just using essentially the center of the soft zoom. So by pulling that light all the way back in, the light is staying pretty close to the center. We're using a pro head, so we're going to get a little more coverage to the edges, but it should be a nice hard quality of light. The one thing that happens whenever you do this is the light's going to kick back just because I have some counterweight there. So let's drop this down just a little bit. Hey, Alfred, could you tell me when that's looking right at you? Right about there? Cool. Thank you, sir. So now let's pull the power back about a stop. Cool. Here we go. Chin down a little bit. 3, 2, 1. Much, much harder quality of light. So to go from something incredibly soft to something that hard is pretty nice. Let's pull them up side by side so you can see it. As soon as I can find my mouse cursor, there we go. So the quality of light is quite nice. You can see that we have a nice, almost totally invisible shadow. There's a little bit coming off the ground with his feet whenever we're zoomed all the way out right here. And then when we zoom into that harder light quality, you have something right here where you can see that real detailed shadow. If we zoom into his face, right here, you can see we have real sharp shadows from the nose, real sharp shadow beneath the chin, and then we go here. Look how nice and soft that is. Beautiful coverage, and that's all with the exact same modifier. And that's what makes these things so unique, is the ability to mold to any type of light you want with one modifier. And then if you wanted to go even smoother with the softness, you could throw the diffusion panel on the front. We could do that right now. So let's zoom this thing out. Do we have any questions, anybody? Susan, any questions or anything?
About the finished texture of the silver interior. Is it polished or more rough?
It's kind of a sanded material. It's not like a mirror finish. Let's see. I can show you possibly with the 120. Yeah, it's very similar. So if you can kind of see our 300 over here, it's again, it's kind of like a. Would you say it's kind of like a sanded finish, Nicholas? It's not. It's reflective, but it's not like a mirror. It's not polished or anything like that. So now I'm going to drop this down just so I can throw the diffusion panel over it. And so what this is going to do, this is just going to even out the light some more. I'm using this in an indirect mode. Like I said, this is kind of the ideal way of using it. And so I don't need to put the inner diffuser inside of it. I'm just going to use the outer diffuser to keep to make the light even out even more. Just throw it over the top here. Raise it up a little bit so I can see. Okay. And the nice thing, whenever you go the route with the diffuser, you now have the light source to the front, and the light source is no longer inside of the reflector. So therefore, this is a little more forgiving. So you don't have to point it so much right at your subject. I'm zoomed all the way out, so the light is poking into the reflector a little bit, but that'll be okay. Let's get that pointed at you right there. Perfect. So now we're going to power back up real fast, probably to about 8. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nice. Maybe a touch over, but not too bad. So bring these 3 up together so you can see what we're looking at. So you can see how much softer, here, let's actually get rid of the hard light. So you can see how much softer we got with the diffuser. Just looking at the shadows here and the lines of demarcation, you can see how much more that feathered out. So the diffuser does a really, really good job of just softening it ever so much more. Any questions from anybody?
Yep, so we have Jacob that asked, he has a D2 and a D1,
Mhm.
so both flat front. He was wondering if you could compare how the two compare between each other.
Sure.
If there's any difference.
Between a D2 and a B1? Or between a pro head and a flat front and a pro head? Cool. So I'll just, instead of throwing it into that one, we'll do apples to apples into the 180 and show what that looks like. Let's take the diffuser panel off. So let's feed this out. So when you're using this, I'm just going to throw probably a B10 into here, just to keep it simple. The lights clip into the cage just like any traditional Profoto light mount. Let's get this here for safety. And then let's take this B10. When you're using the B10 with it, you want to remove the stand adapter. It's not so much of a big deal with the D1s, D2s, and the B1s because this is pushed so far forward on the light. So, but with the B10, especially just the B10 by itself, not the plus, it's better to remove this. So we'll clip it into place. Cool, 2, 1, perfect. Make sure we're pointed at you for the most part, and then we'll lift it up. So the first shot we'll take is zoomed all the way out. One of the things is real.
Switch the capture one and the BTS.
Yeah. Let's go BTS. Cool. So again, B10's in here. I think we're pointed right at you, my friend. Perfect. Let's get powered up on group A. I have a feeling we're probably gonna have to go all the way up on the juice. So let's go to 10. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I probably need a little bit more light. I'm pushing my camera, F8. But let's see. So the one thing that you have to take into consideration with something like this is that you're throwing light into the reflector and then it's coming back out. So you, depending on your camera settings, you need a little bit more power to get that light in there and get it back out. The 250, I'm pushing at full power right now. I probably need to go to the B10 Plus, but I think I set a B10 Plus in here. There she is. Thank you, sir. Cool. How you doing, man? Good? Perfect. So again, because the collar of the B10 or B10 Plus is longer, you don't have to take the stand adapter off. I just do it for weight savings, but you don't have to. And again, the D2 and the B1 have no issues with this. Just make sure you counterweight your stand. So power up. Cool. B10 Plus in. Perfect. Let's go one more. F8. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh. Ah, wrong channel. Yeah, we're good. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Very nice. And then let's zoom it all the way in so you can see what it looks like with the hard light. And then we'll compare everything. Hey, Alfred, does that look like it's pointing at you?
I'd say so.
Okay, perfect. So whenever you zoom it all the way in, you just want to kind of pay attention because the light is going to be a harder light. It's going to be a lot more pointed. So that's why I was asking Alfred that. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, actually, I need to come back about a stop of the light. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, actually, I didn't need to come back a stop. Let's go to full power. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. So now let's pull up the soft images and then we'll pull up the hard light images so you can see the differences. Let's go here. Full screen. So there's hard light there, and then we have another one right here. So these are, so your image here on the left is going to be the Pro head inside of the soft zoom, and this right here is your B10 Plus inside the soft zoom. The one thing I will say is the shadow here on the B10 version is much sharper. That's going to be because it's not throwing as much light to the sides as the Pro head's going to be doing. But quality-wise, they both look really good. Let's see, we zoom into like the next shadow. The actual shadow of the B10 is a little bit crisper. The light you're going to get out of it is a little bit harder. And again, that's because the Pro head has the ability to throw light a little more 180 degrees. So you're filling up some of the edges of the reflector. The light source is actually a touch bigger than the B10 is allowing for. But both very good qualities of light. Very similar. Again, a little bit more feathering here with the Pro head. So now let's go with the soft light. Here we go. Soft light there. And then let's go up here. Soft light wise, we had a little bit more power here, so there's a little bit more exposure. But as far as the actual coverage, there might be a little bit more definition in the shadow here with the B10 side, but softness wise, they're both pretty equal. The same coverage, it's utilizing almost all of the reflector on both sides. So you're getting a nice, huge light source that's giving you tons of coverage, tons of feathering. It's a really, really pretty light source. And then, you know, if I wanted to make, I could go in here and I could push the exposure just a little bit more, just so they feel a touch more similar. But you can see they do a really, really good job of giving you very, very similar light quality outputs with a protruded head or with a flat front. So any other questions? Cool.
Ab says well done.
Oh, thanks, Ab. Appreciate it, man. So hopefully you can see that the design of these things is going to give you a lot of flexibility, whether, again, you're a Pro head shooter or you are a flat front user, B10, B1, D2, stuff like that. So very cool stuff. And honestly, the B10s look kind of sick on the cage, like just this little light hanging out inside of the reflector. I think that's pretty neat. So I've shown you the 180. Let's throw the B10 into the 120. I'm not gonna flip around too much with the Pro heads with the 120 because you've seen the differences now between the two lights. So let's throw a B10 inside of the 120, and I can show you what that light is going to look like as opposed to the 180. So let's drop this. Yeah, the flat front light does quite a nice job with the sharp shadow on the subject.
Chris, can you just point out the plastic D-rings?
Oh yeah. So one other thing that's kind of cool, especially for people who want to use this on location, but if you're inside somewhere and you need a little more assistance with it. So we put these D-rings on all of them. So there's a D-ring here, one on the other side of the.
Sorry, Caitlin says that you need to change the screen back.
Thanks, Kate. See, my partner's got my back even whenever we're pretty far apart. Let's see. Thanks, Kate. Appreciate that. Okay, cool. So you have these D rings right here. So there's two towards the bottom and there's one above. So if you're inside and you have some sort of a grid or some way that you can actually suspend from above, you can actually support the top of the soft zoom from above. But what's really cool is if you're on location and it's windy, you can actually take some ground anchors and you can anchor this thing into the ground and you're gonna help it from toppling over with wind. So these little D rings are really, really nice. They're on these really robust sleeves right here where the rods go in, and this is how you would replace, this is where you would replace a rod if something were to go wrong. And you get 6 in the bag, which is really nice. Did I miss anything else from the 180 before I go to the 120? Sweet. The other thing, I will say this, one of the things that's really nice too with these is we made a lot of the things that could break repairable. So it's going to take quite a long time unless you just like jam a bunch of sand in here and you are zooming things in and out. But there's a bushing right here as well, and that's also repairable. So if over time of you using your soft zoom reflector, this bushing starts to wear out and there's maybe some play in the zoom rod, you can actually remove the zoom rod, replace the bushing yourself, and you're ready to rock and roll. You don't have to send it in for repair or anything. So you can replace your rods and you can replace the bushing. Cool, so let's get that out of the way. I personally love the look of the 180. I've played with both of them. The 120 is very cool, but there's just something about the coverage of the 180 that I just absolutely love. So just so you can see how the light goes in, just like a traditional mount of anything for a Profoto mount, just goes in, clips into place, and you're ready to rock and roll. Cool. So we're gonna try to keep the light in the same place just so you can kind of see what the coverages look like. So let's go. First and foremost, let's turn these legs. There we go. I'm gonna throw some counterweight onto this thing. There we go. Cool. So let's take, since we're already kind of zoomed in, let's take the first shot with the harder light source. Alfred, does that look like it's pointing at you?
No.
Right there? Perfect. Thanks, man. Cool. So here is the 120 zoomed into a hard light setup. Let's make sure. Cool, we're good there. 3, 2, 1. Very nice. I could probably pull the power back a little bit, but it looks pretty good. Here, let's make sure you guys have that up on the screen so you can see it. And then now we're going to zoom it out to a soft light mode. Step stool would be really handy right here. That was just for Anders because he was calling me short earlier. He made me take the tall ladder when we changed out the seamless, so my feelings are a little hurt. It's okay, we'll get through it. Cool. I'm rather uncomfortable with this because I don't have any extra weight on it. Could someone just come here and hold this thing steady? Nicholas is going to join the chat. I don't have a sandbag for this right now just because we're moving so fast, so I'm going to use my human sandbag. Let's get this pointed towards Alfred. Sweet. And so now we have it zoomed out into where we're using more of the reflector, so it's going to give us a softer quality of light. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Cool. And we can lower this thing down now. Thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Nicholas, everyone. Round of applause. Cool. Sweet. So let's pull these up, show you what they look like in comparison to the 180. So this right here was the 180 with the B10. Let's make sure I'm pulling the right things. I did. Cool. So this is the 180 with the B10 zoomed all the way in with the hard light. This is the 120 zoomed all the way in with the hard light. let's just I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit on this first one just so it matches a little more. Just so so they look relatively similar. There we go. So light quality wise, they're both pretty sharp. I would say that the 120 feathers out, feels like it feathers out a little bit more than the 180 does. So let's see here on the chin, what are we looking like? The 180 to my eye, and I could be wrong here, Anders, but the 180 to my eye looks sharper in a hard light setup than the 120 does. And I think maybe it's just because the 120 itself is longer than the 180 is going to be. So it probably has the opportunity to bounce around a little bit more than it does inside the 180. But that's interesting. You would think with a smaller light, you would have harder light. So let's go here to the soft light sources. And I'm going to bring this last one up again, like I said, just to kind of match a little bit more. Softness wise, again, I think the 180 is actually going to be softer because it's bigger. I don't know why I'm acting like I'm surprised by the bigger light source being softer. I think I'm just flabbergasted by the bigger light source being harder than the smaller light source. So, but you can see because it's a smaller light source, you're going to get a little bit more pronunciation in the shadow. It's going to start appearing more because there's not as much light wrapping. So you're getting a pronounced shadow under the chin and under the nose. Let's see what we're looking like. You can see quite a bit of difference here. There's a much more clear line of demarcation right there, as opposed to with the 180. So, and that's to be expected. A large modifier and a soft light mode, giving you a much softer light is just par for the course, right? That's for you, Kate. I remember to turn off the screen that time. So, any other questions from anybody about anything? They're pretty straightforward lights. There's not anything too crazy about them. Again, they're really easy to set up. They're really easy to control. They're made for all of the lights that are 100 millimeters. So again, your B1s, your D2s, your Pro heads. So they're a really well-rounded tool that give you a lot of looks out of, honestly, one light. So when you, if you decide to purchase a soft zoom reflector, here's what comes with it. So you're going to get the soft zoom itself. You get the large zoom rod that comes with it. You get the case and you get some replacement rods. You get 6. So that's what comes in the kit. If you decide that you want to have a diffuser kit, you can purchase that separately. If you decide you want a grid for the front of it, you can also purchase that separately. So those accessories are kind of a la carte. But I really love this thing the way it comes. Again, the zoom rod's going to give you a lot of looks right out of the bag, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. So, and that goes for both the reflectors. That's how they come set up, and they come with a really nice case that's good for traveling. Anything else before I sign out of this bad boy? Cool. Well, I hope you guys are excited about the soft zoom reflector as we are. It's a really, again, versatile light shaping tool that I think will help out a lot in your photography. If you have the opportunity to swing by a camera store, give that a shot. I'm sure some rental houses will have it in stock. You can try renting it out and see if you like it that way. Or if it's just the kind of light modifier that's your style, consider picking one up. In the meantime, have an awesome rest of your week. I'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.